Hello everyone, welcome back to another Project Gladiator weather forecast. Today I'll be covering the weather for September 25th of 2023, and currently there are two main regions that we are going to be going over in today's forecast. There's this marginal threat for the southern half of Texas, as well as this marginal threat for Florida. As for threats for today, we don't really have all that much of a tornado threat. However, we do have a 5% wind threat for both locations and a 5% hail threat for both locations as well. Taking a look at our weather model, starting off with our 500 millibars like we usually do, focusing on southern Texas first, you can see that we do have a very weak subtropical jet rounding the northern and northeastern side of a high pressure system situated across Mexico. Overall, this subtropical jet is very, very weak. Mid-level flow is going to be anywhere in the 20 knots. It is hardly getting into the 30 knots. So this subtropical jet coming out of the Pacific and rounding the northern and northeastern side of this high-pressure system is expected to be very, very weak and overall lead to a limited amount of organization and overall limited potential, only really getting up to a marginal threat. However, with some of the mountains that we have out in the Rockies across New Mexico, that is going to lead to a little bit of lee troughing on the leeward side of these mountains to help aid with some severe weather development across Texas. However, again, with those Rockies, we are also expected to see some orographic elongated hodographs to support a 5% hail threat across this region, as well as the threat of damaging winds. Then if we take a look at Florida, we have a very weak subtropical jet coming out of the Gulf of Mexico as well. This is going to be fairly similar to Texas, as mid-level flow is going to be staying mostly around the 20 knots and hardly getting into the 30 knots, so that is going to lead to overall questionable and weak organization and overall a weak potential for severe thunderstorms across this region. However, we should still be able to see a little bit of some weak elongated hodographs to support some small hail across this region, as well as the threat of damaging winds. Taking a look at our dew points, focusing on southern Texas first, and then we'll move on to Florida. We still are expected to see southerly flow out of the Gulf of Mexico, which will lead to building moisture across the central plains. As of right now, we are expected to have some widespread, fairly moist atmosphere. We are expected to have dew points that are going to be ranging anywhere from the mid and upper 60s into the mid and low 70s. So we are definitely expected to have quite a bit of moisture across southern Texas, which will definitely lead to some fairly strong instability across this region. Then if we take a look at Florida, we are expected to have fairly strong moisture across this region because it's Florida. So with dew points that are going to be getting as high as some of the mid and upper 70s, we could definitely have quite a bit of instability across this region. Taking a look at our temperatures, focusing on Texas, you can see that we are expected to have some fairly strong heat across this region. We are expected to continue to see temperatures that are going to be getting into the 90s. However, we aren't expected to see temperatures that are going to be getting into the hundreds or above anymore, as we did see some of that yesterday. However, it has cooled down a little bit. We aren't expected to see temperatures that are going to be getting into 100 above in Texas anymore. However, we could still see some fairly strong heat across Texas with temperatures that could still be getting into the 90s, but also the widespread 80s. Then if you take a look at Florida, we are expected to have a little bit cooler temperatures across Florida compared to Texas. We are expected to have temperatures that are going to be getting as high as the low 90s. So it is going to be fairly hot across Florida. However, it should begin to cool down with some of these thunderstorms, as if we play the animation forward, a lot of this rain-cooled air is going to be dropping temperatures down into the 70s, so we are expected to see a little bit of heat relief from some of these thunderstorms. We could also see some heat relief from some thunderstorms across Texas as well, so that could also cool down some things in Texas as well. Taking a look at our instability, starting off with southern Texas first, you can see that we do have quite a bit of instability across southern Texas, and this will definitely be able to fuel and support our threats for damaging winds and small hail with our orographic elongated hodographs. However, because of the weakness of our mid-level flow aloft, we aren't expected to see anything above what we already have, so we are expected to stay mainly around that marginal range in a 5% wind threat and our 5% hail threat. And then if we take a look at Florida, it's pretty much the same story for Florida as Texas. We do have quite a bit of instability, however, because of our very weak mid-level flow aloft, we aren't expected to see anything above a marginal threat. Now that I've told you the weather, please go down to the description and check out the socials for Project Gladiator and join the Discord for any updates on Project Gladiator. If you live in any of the areas that I covered for today, please stay weather alert for the time being, and hopefully I will be able to see you guys tomorrow with another forecast.